fucking meat cannibal trying to eat. I got a zombie army and you can't harm me.
Hey,
Yeah,
watch it.
your voodoo, bitch.
Dude, this song bangs way more than it has any right banging. Dead Island is basically Borderlands if Borderlands was a zombie game. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Dead Island came out at a time where there was just this zombie craze going on. You had everything from TV shows, movies, video games, anything that had to do with entertainment, there was a zombie thing for it. If you had never played or heard of the game itself, you've probably played or heard of the trailer. Played the trailer? I don't make... Whatever. It was this really interesting piece where these events of a family falling apart was playing in reverse, and there was these video breakdowns where people put it in chronological order. It was a really good marketing technique, so A+ on that. However, it wasn't really indicative of the game's actual story. We'll get into that a little bit later. Dead Island is basically a first-person shooter slash hack and slash with light RPG elements. It's kind of like a semi-open world game that takes place across 4 different hub areas, starting in a resort. Lots of variety, which is pretty awesome, but f the sewer levels. Developers, sewer levels aren't fun. It's like they're sitting here making this game on a beautiful tropical paradise island that's going to hell, and they say to themselves, you know what would look really cool and be really fun to play in? A sewer. These long, narrow hallways where you gotta backtrack and spend a ton of time in these environments that don't give a lot of gameplay variety and look exactly the same are not fun. It's all about the gameplay loop, and your whole goal in the game is to go through the story and escape the island while saving as many people as you can. We're taking a modern look on Dead Island, seeing how it holds up, how it plays, and whether you should give it a shot.
Time to die, mate.
But before we get into any of that, we gotta talk about the version we're playing on, just like the Splinter Cell version. This is the PC version, and it's also the definitive edition. So I want you guys to keep that in mind as we talk about this video. First off, performance isn't as rock solid as I'd like it to be. I remember back in the day, this was plagued with performance issues and optimization issues. I think there was even an issue at launch where people were getting the Xbox gamepad as a default, not the keyboard and mouse icons, and they had to go into the configuration file to change it or something. We don't necessarily have that problem, but my computer shouldn't be dropping frames like it was. It's not really bad, but I've been playing this maxed out at 144 frames, and there's times, especially in the later stages, where it'll just drop down to like a cool 60, or even when it's in the lower hundreds, it feels like it's at 30, and that started to get really distracting. Also, this game was obviously made to play with a controller. The menus are really clunky to try to navigate when it comes to like managing your inventory. After about 10 hours of playing, I still never got used to it. It still feels pretty awkward. And the driving, man. The driving is already bad with a keyboard and mouse in any game, but in this one, it just doesn't feel great.
Hurry it up. These fuckers are starting.
And there were times where I would try to turn, and it just wouldn't recognize me turning, and I would just plow straight into a wall. But we'll get into that a little bit more into the gameplay. Just wanted to mention that. So, let's talk about the gameplay, I guess.
Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. What the fuck? I'm not even supposed to be here. I hope I don't jack off. Okay. This guy's about to jack off. This little fucking butt's a piece of shit.
Obviously, the big focus on this game's gameplay is the melee combat, and you'll be using anything from kayak paddles to hammers to take people out. The gunplay isn't really good. Alright, if this game had a $10 budget, 50 cents of it went into the gunplay because the guns are not fun to use. They feel really clunky, the aim down sight's really weird, and whenever you're aiming at somebody and shooting them, it's really hard to keep an aim on them. The only time it's kind of fun is when you have a really powerful gun that takes them out like within one shot, and even then it's just not great. Obviously the melee combat is where it's at. When it comes to the melee combat, you can break and sever limbs, which will change the way the zombies react to you. You have a fury, like a rage mode, where you can just kind of one-shot them, which works pretty cool. And as you upgrade your skill tree, you'll access new abilities to take them out. Also, none of these characters skip leg day.
Bastard!
You get a knockback feature where you can just kick the shit out of these zombies, and
Taken over the police station. The law is gone, and we are in charge. And if you're
What you say?
Why are we still here? Just to suffer? forever.
Any common infected can be knocked down as long as you're jump kicking, which will allow you to insta-kill with an ability you eventually get by upgrading. The biggest gimmick of this gameplay is the weapon mods. Throughout the game you'll find these blueprints where you can craft and upgrade your melee weapons or even your guns. Yeah, you just take a couple of batteries and a little bit of duct tape and boom, you got a taser on your machete. Why not? You can make incendiary rounds, you can make shock rounds, and just the creativity on this is really crazy. This is easily the best part of the game, although be warned, if you play it like me and you're just going through the story without doing a lot of side quests or a lot of looting, which is obviously a big part of this game, you won't get the necessary components you need to craft these blueprint mods. I was only able to do a handful of them throughout my experience, and there's a lot of blueprint mods. There's even some hidden developer ones, which are just kind of special things you can find if you put in the effort. I really love when developers do this in games. It's just a hidden little bonus that makes the exploration and gameplay worth your time. It's awesome. In a game like this, the gameplay loop is where it's most important because they expect you to play this game and do a lot of killing, a lot of looting, and they expect you to play this multiple times throughout the different characters that have their own special abilities. So it's very important that they get the gameplay right. And I think the melee combat is very good. Like I said, the gunplay, not so good. I'm glad that it's in there. I just wish they would have put a little more effort into it. There's a lot of these shooting gallery sections where they expect you to have these gunfights, and it's just not so great. I'd make any effort I could to just try to use the melee weapons. And when it comes to the AI, they're dumb as a box of rocks, dude.
Help! Okay, help me, God! You...
The zombies are really easy to trick. You can get up on a platform and stay out of their way. You can hide behind a railing or a wall and make their path reset. And the human AI, the humans, they're so stupid. Like the zombies, they're zombies. You expect them to be kind of brainless, whatever. But when it comes to the human AI, sometimes they just outright don't see you. They hide in plain sight. They're pretty easy to breeze through. There is a slight glitchiness to the gameplay sometimes. The game almost feels like it missed a couple of patches.
Figures, it wasn't Russian.
Like I said, this is supposed to be the definitive version, but there were times where I'd get knocked down and glitch through a wall, or I would just get stuck on random objects and have to reset.
The dream time.
The checkpoint system could work a little awkwardly. There were multiple times where I'd just finish an objective before I was really intended to in the game because the AI is slow as hell. Like in this instance where I'm intended to run into this guy fighting a crowd of zombies, but I actually ran past that entire section and was just chilling with him on the boat beforehand.
At the altar. Is that your friend?
That was fucking voodoo. Not a living dead shit.
The gameplay might be a little glitchy sometimes, but hey, can't hold a candle to Bethesda.
She needs pain.
Hi.
She won't make it without the medicine, mate. Please.
The gameplay mission variety really just kind of ranges from your standard fetch quest to your escort missions. Don't expect a ton of variety here or nothing that really reinvents the wheel. It's the pretty standard go collect some gas cans or go collect this document and bring it back to me, whatever. Luckily, there's not a whole lot of these escort missions because, like I said, the AI is dumb as a box of rocks, and that also transfers into your teammates. The escort missions are just kind of hilariously bad sometimes. Everybody kind of runs like they gotta take a shit. You're significantly faster than everybody else. For some reason, everybody just loves to take their sweet ass times when it comes to getting from objective to objective. Also, talking about this is making my mouth really dry. Luckily, the gameplay is fun because the story leaves a lot to be desired.
I'm not gonna make it. Can you do something for me? Can you give this to my family? I didn't have a will, so I wrote it on the back of this.
I cannot help you.
First off, you'll notice that you're basically playing the game by yourself, and most likely you're not going to be playing with other people unless you have friends to play this with. I had 2 people join my online games, and both times they were hacking in the beginning stages.
New challenger.
voodoo.
And this was only on the first stage. This didn't transfer throughout any of the other part of the game. In the cutscenes, you'll always see your AI teammates with you, but when it comes down to the actual gameplay, you're just by yourself, unless it comes down to an escort mission. Otherwise, the other characters in the game are just sitting at the home base in whatever hub area you're at. But the main problem with the story is there's no actual interaction within these 4 characters that you would be playing as with other teammates until like halfway through the game.
Holy shit!
It's like they didn't have the budget for the voice acting or something, because I almost didn't think these characters talked to each other until just randomly sometime in the city they started interacting.
I'm saying that we have to find that guy on the radio.
And the lifeguard? We promised to help.
Oh, fuck the lifeguard, man. If not for him, we wouldn't be stuck here like this.
Make the call.
And then completely out of nowhere, they throw this side character at you that you're supposed to all of a sudden care about and they give her more character development than any of the main characters in the game. I'm sorry, excuse me? I'm just all of a sudden supposed to care about this girl leaving her dad? I don't care, dude. And she's a brat. I'm so glad that something mildly inconvenient happens to her in this game. Totally not talking about her dying or anything.
Go on now, and don't you lose hope. Live your life. I love you.
Dude, you can put all the sad music in the background and record this thing in a tunnel or something if you want to, but it doesn't change the fact that I don't give a shit.
What the fuck?
Before that, they were just kind of awkwardly huddled around each other. There's not a whole lot of character development in the beginning besides this intro screen before you actually start the game.
You know who I am. You have any idea who you're fucking talking to? Or maybe you saw me in the playoffs. I played for the fucking goddamn champions.
Oh, the fucking goddamn champions. That's my favorite team. It's so stupid, dude, but I just love the quirkiness of this game. You don't really know how these characters met up with each other or what their relationship is or what they think of each other. There's not a whole lot of character building there, which is kind of disappointing. They give you this diverse group of people, but yet there's just not a whole lot going on between them, other than the occasional, oh, we gotta all get out of here. The voice acting's alright, but you just only get it sparingly. I'm just gonna throw out this little alternate scenario here. If the Dead Island 2 boys are listening to this and they're actually still working on that game, you guys can have this as a freebie from me. I'm just throwing it out there. I came up with it in 5 minutes. You don't have to hire me as a writer or anything. Instead of each character's prologue starting the exact same way, what if they all had their own individual stories? Like the little Asian lady I'm playing as is supposedly like a desk clerk or something, so it really doesn't make sense that she's waking up in the same hotel room as everybody else. What if she started out on a little shack outside the island or something and she was about to start her day for work? Maybe Sam B had like a little VIP area he was crashing in the night before. Maybe Football Jock homie woke up in the bushes hungover or something. The other girl who's a firearms expert, maybe she was running security for the island or something. And then after each prologue plays out individually, they all intersect and come together in the first chapter where you start the game. This would not only add more replay value and gameplay variety in the beginning, but it would also add to the story and the world building. But now let's just have them all wake up in the same hotel room. Maybe it was a budget thing. I don't know. I just think that would have been a cool little hypothetical scenario. That being said, the story that is there it's kind of mediocre. Spoiler, the first guy that interacts with you about getting off the island is kind of the bad guy. Oh, the creepy guy sitting in front of all the computer monitors is the bad guy. Who would have thought? The biggest character arc that you really get in the game is this girl that you save before you move on to the city area. And she's alright, but you very quickly hate her in the beginning stages of the game because she basically runs off without you. She ends up just getting herself kidnapped and raped and slowing your progression down. Thanks, girl. She also kind of acts as your storage box throughout the game, which is, it's kind of weird, but I mean, alright, I'll take it. Overall, I think Dead Island's pretty fun. It was a pretty cool game, a cool 10 hours spent just on the main story without really doing any of the side stuff. I might go into a new game plus with all of my abilities and maybe try to complete more of it. Who knows? I might. Maybe I won't. You won't know because I might not do a video on it, so there you go. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to let me know what you thought of it. If you enjoyed Dead Island in general, maybe I'll bring some Dead Island Riptide content. I never played that, so it would be a totally fresh look at it. Also, consider supporting the Patreon like my man Exceed over here. It's just $1, so maybe go check it out. Any of the support you give me is greatly appreciated. I'm just another dude over here playing the YouTube lottery, hoping that more people will see my videos at some point, so yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. It's been T. And I'm out. Motherfucker.